Welcome to Geography Nut. We are so excited that you click on this video today. We looked at two other United States territory, Puerto Rico and Northern Mariana Island. We also looked at United States. Today we are going to look at Guam. Are you excited? Oh, before we start, please subscribe and click the bell button. It will mean so much to us. And it will also help you follow along the journey with us from one country to another. Guam is a small island territory of the United States. It's located in the western Pacific Ocean. It is known for its tropical beaches and native Chamorro culture and the role it played in World War II. Guam is also home to United States Pacific Army Base. Before we start Guam, I want to give you a very interesting fact about Guam. Did I mention that Guam is home to many tropical beaches? But none of these beaches have sand on them. Don't worry, they have crushed coral as a sand. So this is one of the few places in the world that you can experience and walk on crushed coral. And also roads and everything else that paved is paved with concrete and coral. Guam's capital is Hagåtña. It covers an whopping 2 square kilometers and the population is just over 1,000. Hagåtña is the second smallest village out of the 19 villages in Guam in population and in area. However, this still remains one of the major commercial districts in the island, as well as the place where the government meet and conduct business. If you would like to enjoy Guam, the best place to go is Truman. Pretty much an all-inclusive vacation place. It's built and functions as a place for tourists to come and enjoy Guam. Guam is located pretty far away from US mainland. It's in the Pacific Ocean, northwest part of the Pacific Ocean. Guam is the southmost island in Northern Mariana Archipelago and the biggest one as well. Guam is the most eastern point in United States. So they have a slogan saying, where America's day begins. They are almost 14 hours ahead of east coast of United States. This is Guam's national flag. The main body is blue with a narrow red border and coat of arms in the center. Coat of arms has a picture of proa sailing in Agana Bay, and also it has the word Guam in red letters. The shape of the coat of arms is pretty unusual. Usually coat of arms are circle. This is almond shape because it represents the slingshot stone used by island ancestors, the Chamorro people. The narrow red band represents the bloodshed during the World War II. And also it gives the nod to Spanish history. This is the island seal and same as the one on the flag.
Geography.
Archipelago of Mariana Islands are located in the North Pacific Ocean, specifically the Micronesia area. Guam is the southmost and the largest island of this archipelago. Guam is the only island in the archipelago that is not part of the Northern Mariana Island, another US territory. I will link the video of Northern Mariana Island at the end of this video so you can watch this. As neighbors, these two territories have very similar culture. However, they are also different in so many ways. So it'd be nice to kind of look at both of them and compare and contrast. The island is about 51 kilometers long and 15 kilometers wide at the widest point, and the area is 544 square kilometers. This is the 32nd largest island in the United States. What do you think of the shape of this island? People think it looks like a footstep. Do you agree? Guam's highest point is Mount Lam Lam, only 407 meters tall. So it's not that tall at all. It's an easy hike to the top, and you will have a lush green hill view on one side and the ocean view on the other side. If you are in Guam, this is one of the must hike. The lowest point of the Guam is Pacific Ocean at 0 meters. The distance from the peak of the Lam Lam Mountain to the bottom of the nearby Mariana Trench is said to be the greatest change in elevation on Earth over such a short distance. However, because the distance is not measured, it's only calculated, as well as the geological formation process, make both the Mariana Trench and the Mount Lam Lam are different. The claim is contested. Guam sits on the Mariana Plate just west of where the Pacific Plate subduct, the Mariana Plate, and the Philippine Sea Plate. Guam occasionally experiences earthquake. In recent years, most of Guam have had earthquake magnitude ranging from 5 to 8.7. Guam is not volcanically active like Northern Mariana Island. However, the volcanic smoke from the Northern Mariana Island significantly affect Guam because they are so closer to each other. A coral table reef surrounds most of Guam, and the limestone bays provide the source for most of the island fresh water. Steep coastal cliffs dominate the northern side of the island, while the mountains occupy the south side of the island.
History!
Guam's history is very interesting. It starts out very similar to Northern Mariana Island. However, there are some twist and turn and turbulence. So we will look at the turning points and important point of the history and quickly look through it. The original inhabitants of Guam and Northern Mariana Island came to the island over 400 years ago. They are Chamorros, descendant of Austroasian from Southeast Asia. Portuguese navigator Ferdinand Magellan sailed for the King of Spain and found Guam in 1521. When Magellan came, he was greeted by hundreds of small outrigger canoes. And these canoes were so fast, they look like they are flying over the water. So Magellan named the island De la Villas Latine, meaning the island of the Latin sails. Antonio Figafetta, who sailed with Magellan, he is Magellan's right-hand man, wrote on his journal about the islanders, entered the ship and stole whatever they could lay their hands on, including the small boat that was fastened to the flagship. Those people are poor, but ingenious and very thievish. On the account of this incident, we call Guam and the other neighboring island the island of thieves. Even though Ferdinand Magellan found the island in 1521, Spain didn't claim the island at the time. General Miguel Lopez de Legazpi officially claimed the island for Spain in 1565. Soon after, Spanish started colonizing the island. With the arrival of Diego Luis de San Victor and Pedro Calungsod, who established the first Catholic church in the island. 1600 was not a good year for Guamanian, especially Chamorros. Spanish began their colonization in 1668. Soon after that, the conflict between Chamorros and the Spanish settlers started in 1670. Then the typhoon hit the island in 1671. On top of that, in 1688, a smallpox pandemic devastated the island, and all of this reduced the island population of Comoros from 50,000 to less than 5,000. By 1695, Spain had complete control over the island because Chamorros were far few and they couldn't fight us Spanish anymore. Between 1767 and 1771, Charles III of Spain issued a ruling seizing properties from Jesuits and banishing them from Spain. As a consequence, Jesuits living in Guam abandoned their churches and rectories and ranches and they just left Guam. So the Guam was kind of in a chaos. So Governor then Mariano Tobias came to the island in 1771 and he reformed agriculture and encouraged cattle raising. He imported deer and water buffalo from Manila and donkeys and mules from Acapulco, established a cotton mill and salt plant, and he built free public school and first Guam militia. Guam is doing much better. So in the mid 1800s, Carolinians arrived to Guam as refugees after a devastating typhoon in 1848 and a severe earthquake in 1849 destroyed many parts of Caroline Islands. But Guam wasn't affected much by this. Guam needed labor forces to take care of the farm and growing economy. So Carolinian and Japanese were allowed to settle in Guam officially in 1856. Still, Guam is doing much better. Spain controlled the Guam until 1815. So they started actually colonizing the island in 1675. The 1600s were not a good year. By the mid 1700s, Guam started to improve and it lasted until 1815. Guam and Northern Mariana Islands are the only Spanish territory in the Pacific Ocean east of the Philippines. And these were important resting spots for Spanish sailors and merchants. After almost 4 centuries as part of the Spanish kingdom, Guam came under control of United States after the 1898 Spanish-American War as part of the Treaty of Paris of 1898. United States Navy took control of Guam in 1898 under the 25th President William McKinley's order. Under the United States control, Guam came to serve as the service station for American merchant and warships traveling to and from the Philippines. U.S. Navy Yard was built in Pitt in 1899. Telephone stations were built in 1903 and the Guam is continued to develop. It all crashing down when Japan invaded Guam. Shortly after they attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941, they attacked Guam and took control of the part for 31 months. During this time, people of Guam were subjected to forced labor, family separation, incarceration, execution, concentration camp, forced prostitution, and all sort of torture. Chamorros indigenous from Northern Mariana Island were brought to Guam to serve as interpreters and helpers of Japanese forces. So Northern Mariana Island Chamorros were somewhat helping Japanese military. The resentment between Guamanian Chamorros and the Chamorros of Northern Mariana Island still exists to some level. Guam's Chamorros thought that their Northern Mariana Chamorros or their family should have been more compassionate. They would have helped them. They could have stand up for them. They didn't do that. They were following Japanese military orders. But on the other hand, Northern Mariana Island Chamorros were under control of Japan for almost 30 years by then, and they were loyal to their government. United States military came to fight for Guam in 1944, and this war lasted 2 weeks, and it's a very strong battle. And 18,000 Japanese were killed and 485 were surrendered. This war is called Battle of Guam. This is part of the Second World War. There is an interesting side story. Japanese Lance Corporal Shoji Yoki, he was hidden in the deep forest of Guam since the battle in 1944. Local hunters found him in 1972. So for 28 years, this man lived believing the war is still going on, and one day his comrade would come and find him. When the hunters found him, he thought that they were going to take him to prison, so he begged them to kill him then and there. But it didn't happen. The war was over for a long time, and he was sent to Japan 2 weeks after he was captured. His nephew wrote a book, and it was translated to English in 2009. And in this book, he wrote that he didn't really like the modern Japan or the modern culture because it was too foreign to him. And he also returned to Guam many times, and he passed away in 1997 due to natural causes. But I thought it was interesting that he was hidden in the forest for 28 years, thinking that the war is still going on, and the war pretty much lasted only 2 weeks. After the war ended, Guam Organic Act was signed in 1950. This established Guam as an unincorporated, organized territory of the United States per United States Constitution. And this provides the structure for the local government, and all the Guam citizens received US citizenship equal to the person that who lives in one of the states. So Guam still have the same status. Guamanian still have the same status as they had in the 1950s. The agreement modified here and there, and there is some amendment, but essentially the status is the same. We will leave the history here and move on to
People and culture.
Guam's population is about 168,000 today. Guam's population was around 10,000 in early 1900. It is more than doubled in the 50s when US took back the control over the island and had a steady growth until 2000. Now, the past 2 decades, the population increase is 3 to 5%. The largest ethnic group are the Chamorros at about 37%. Other Pacific Islanders account for about 10%. Asians such as Filipinos, Korean, Chinese, and Japanese account for 33% of the population. Caucasians, meaning whites, are 7%, and about 10% of the population consider themselves as multiracial, meaning they are two or more race. The estimated interracial marriage is about 40%. This is one of the world's highest interracial marriage rate. The official languages of the island is English and Chamorro, but most of the island population speak Chamorros. Filipino is a common language as well. Other Pacific island languages and many Asian languages are spoken in Guam. Spanish, the language of administration for over 300 years, no longer exists in common use, except for proper name, loan word, and place name, and is still studied in university and high school. Majority of the Guamanians are Roman Catholics at about 75%. This is due to the hard work of the priest that who came to the island from Spain, a long time ago. Protestant is the second highest religion at about 18%. Today's Guamanian culture is a fusion of American, Spanish, Filipino, other Micronesian island, and Mexican tradition. Few indigenous pre-Hispanic customs remain in place. Um, Something that is in blood of Chamorro's people, that is Chenchulo. I think I'm saying it wrong, but it's a support system that family care for one another and they work as a team and a group. Infama Mia Lake. This is another one. I think I'm not saying it right. It's called Strive for Harmony. So meaning, be one and support one another. This is something that very important in Guam Chamorro's culture. Hispanic influence is everywhere, including language. Even the Chamorro language change significantly include many of the Spanish word dance, music, sea navigation, their cooking and food, fishing methods, games, songs, and fashion. You can see Spanish influence in almost anything. There have been an increased interest in preserving many remaining pre-Hispanic cultures last few decades. Some scholars are searching and learning about the original Chamorro cultures and practice, such as their dance and language, and especially the canoe building. Remember, their canoe was so fast. The island was once named as, I think, the fast canoe sailors. Today's Guam cuisine is also a fusion of Chamorros, other Pacific Islanders, Asians, and Europeans. Spanish food has strong influence in the cuisine, blended with present American influence. Some popular dishes include um, Chiro breakfast bowl, Jamaican grill, red rice as a side dish, cooked with this is cooked with red seed, um, and the another dish called chincharan, uyuruya, calamai, a Filipino-inspired dessert called banana lumpia, and fruit bat meat is a very distinctive feature in traditional Chamorro cuisine. Other notable local ingredients include fresh fish such as tuna, breadfruit, and coconut. Football is very popular in Guam. Guam's national team is an FIFA member and they play some game. Rugby is also famous there. National Rugby Union team demolished the Brunei team with the 74 to 0 victory in 2008. Uh, Guam is the birthplace of Pacific Extreme Combat, a mixed martial art organization that has international professional MMA fighters coming from many Pacific islands. They also play baseball quite a bit, so they are coming up in sports.
Government.
Guam is governed by an elected governor and a 15 senated legislator, and its judiciary is overseen by the Supreme Court of Guam. Guamanians also elect and one delegate to the United States House of Representatives, the delegate doesn't have the right to vote on final passage of any legislation, but can vote on committees and speak in the House. Since Guam is a US territory, not a state, they are not eligible to elect a member of electoral college. So they cannot vote on the president or vice presidential election. However, Guam conducted a non-binding straw poll on the day of the US election to gauge the preference for the candidate and the results. And it started in 1980. Guam is about 14 hours ahead of east coast of the United States, the 50 states. So this poll is kind of like an indicator of how the election is going to go. They have been right about the election results from 1984 to 2012. But in 2016, they predicted that the Hillary Clinton would win, but Donald Trump won. So that's the only election so far that they were wrong. That's a pretty good track record, huh? In the 80s and early 90s, there was significant movement in favor of Guam becoming a Commonwealth, which would give them a level of self-government similar to Puerto Rico and Northern Mariana Island. However, federal government rejected the version of the Commonwealth agreement the Guam proposed because some of the terms were not compatible with territorial clause in the constitution. A commission on decolonization was established in 1997 to educate the various political status such as statehood, free association, and independence. Nothing came of it as of yet. In July 2020, only a few months ago, Guam joined Unrepresented Nations and People Organizations, UNPO, which is an international organization facilitate and voice unrepresented and marginalized nations and people worldwide. It looks like Guam is getting ready for either independence or a better relationship with Commonwealth status or maybe something else, but only time will tell.
Economy.
Guam's currency is United States dollar. GDP is $5.79 billion and the GDP per capita is $35,600, even though it is almost half of but United States GDP per capita, it is one of the highest in the Pacific Ocean countries. Guam's economy has been stable over the last decade. National defense spending cushions the island economy against the fluctuation of the tourism. Unemployment rate is below 5% for the past decade and much below in many other years. Over 78% of employment is based in service industry. 22% of the people work in defense and other industries such as construction and food processing, while agriculture, only half a percentage of the population work in agriculture. Guam's economy depends mainly on tourism, US military spending, as military has a huge base in Guam, and locally owned businesses. Under a special law by Congress, is Guam's treasury, rather than the US Treasury, receive the federal income tax paid by local taxpayers, including military and civil and federal employees assigned to Guam. Guam is a popular destination for Japanese tourists. Guam's tourist hub, a town called Tumen, has many large hotels, a duty-free shopping galleria, pleasure island district, indoor aquarium, public golf courses, Las Vegas-style theater called Sandcastle, American-style mall called Macroatia Mall, and a designer outlet called Guam Premium Outlet, and many other shopping and entertainment venues. Guam is also home to world largest Kmart. This is also like a tourist attraction. People go there to see and buy, and the shops are very similar to American Kmart, but they are huge. About 75% of the tourists are from Japan, but a sizable number of tourists from South Korea and United States visit Guam as well.
Climate.
Guam's climate is tropical rainforest. The weather is generally hot and humid throughout the year with a little seasonal temperature change. Guam is known to have an equitable temperature year around. Guam has only two seasons, wet season and dry season. The dry season runs from January to May, and the wet season runs from July to November. Average temperature is between 24 and 31 degrees Celsius. Usual humidity during the day is about 80%. Yearly rainfall is tops 2,400 milliliter. Guam is located in the line of typhoons. So it is common for the island to have tropical storms and typhoons during the wet season. The highest risk is usually between August and November. Thank you for watching, and thank you so much for staying with us for this long. Hope you get something out of it, you learn something new, and hope you would like to learn more about other countries and territories. Please subscribe and continue watching. Thank you for your support. Thank you so much. Bye.